Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm so delighted that you're part of our show on being on fire for life. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think we can all just resonate with the energy of that because at times we have awakened from many things that have happened in our culture over the last 2 or 3 years, and it's wonderful to remind ourselves that the light and the fire we bring is what we have in our reality. It's what we see in others, and it's important to be conscious and to be fully awake. As you know, in doing this type of podcast for the past 15 years, we're always looking out there for some of the most interesting people, people that are making changes in their lives as well as those around them, and people that are difference makers. I want to thank our sponsors today, globalpeaceworkers.org, as well as the Institute, ILI.org, the Institute of Leadership and Lifelong Learning. We want to thank you so much for your contribution. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, you can write us and write the publicist on my website. All right, so wow, let's bring in with no more waiting, Heather Leigh Strom. Here she is. And welcome to our program today. I'm so glad that you're here and I just love your energy. I found myself just kind of relaxing into the groove, and
Thank
I'm
you.
being very serious too.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and I understand that you have this groundbreaking book, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it. Canine Spirit Guides,
Yes.
the healing power of man's best friend.
Yes.
Wow. Well, tell us about your journey. Yeah, keep holding it up for a moment and let's look at that. Yes.
It's also
Canines.
just won its first award too.
Oh my gosh, which one? Tell us.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the award. I've entered so many. This is the first one that came back, so I was so excited. I don't have the name memorized yet. Sorry.
Uh,
It's on
no,
my
listen,
website.
listen. It's about knowing that something's happening, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
trophies and the awards and the magazine covers, they're all very impressive. But what it impresses upon people like you and me, we are the me, but we're more about the we. And I'm
Yeah.
sure for you, it's just an honor to know that this is getting traction. This is getting attention.
Yeah.
I was so excited to talk about spirit guides because I'm shamanic learned and trained, and
Yeah.
I'm just all about all this stuff. So, what a beautiful cover, also. That's
Thank
so
you. I did
beautiful,
enter
Heather.
it for I have entered the cover illustration for contest too. I'm waiting to hear back on that. So,
Oh, you can just see the soul of
yeah.
this beautiful animal. Is it an illustration or is it a real animal photographed and then painted?
It's an illustration because it's a blend of 2 animal frequencies,
Got
the
it.
Basenji dog breed and the Black Panther wild
Wow.
animal, and that's how the canine guides work, is through a combined, conjoined frequency of 2 different animals.
Wow. That is so beautiful. I want to remind all of our listeners, whether you're in now time or later time, we love getting comments. We love asking questions. If you tune in on any of the channels right now and you ask a question, we can deliver that to Heather. So, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? So, how I'm so intrigued by we all have sacred stories, but how did your story come about?
Wow, it's been such an incredible journey. I only was activated in 2022, so I've
Okay.
been in a cocoon. I spent 11 years before that time, before the bell rang for me to my call to action, before I knew what my mission was, before I knew what my spiritual gifts were. So I
Wow.
had a really tough childhood that led into an even more tough adulthood. I mean, I was successful. I was a persistent person.
Mhm.
Despite any adversity, I managed to push my way through and find myself. And but I really had never truly met myself, and I always had this nagging question: Why am I here? And
Mm.
I didn't get it, because from what I could see, the world was a terrible place. Humans were terrible, and I didn't have any happy experiences like many people grow up with. I didn't have a childhood that I could look back on and have these warm fuzzy memories. So I just kept asking, why am I here? Because this is not fun. This is not the place I want to be. And I always felt different. It was hard for me to fit in. I didn't identify with what other people my age did, and I was kind of a loner. And so when my bell was rung, I was told to write a book, and it was this book, Canine Spirit Guides. And I thought that it was going to be about the dogs that I had shared my life with. Little did I know that as I started writing this book, I began a whole journey into myself, discovering who I was. I began to meditate, which I've never done before. And I had to do this to make the connection with these canine spirit guides. Um, and I began to shift. So each time I had a meditation, the guides worked with me and healed me. They showed me things that needed to be completed or healed. And then they proceeded to do it right then and there within the meditation.
Oh, wow.
And as they healed me, layers and layers and layers just were peeling off of me. And all of a sudden, I became this whole different person that I never knew I was. Never knew I was this person.
Wow.
And it was such a transformative experience that, um, I mean, I've changed so many things. I changed my name. I moved across country. I've changed my occupation. I mean, all this changed within a year's time. And the
Wow.
book was completed in 6 months, because as they healed me, my channel just opened and blossomed. And what I discovered as I wrote the book was it wasn't really about dogs. Number one, it was about my transformation, because it shares that entire process in the book. But number two, I was supposed to share the healing frequencies that these canine spirit guides had used to heal me in just 6 months, like
Wow.
instant.
That's
So
amazing.
I never
Now,
saw that coming.
well, no, I don't imagine you have. I mean, even people that long to be an author or long to relocate across the country or whatever. I mean, 6 months would go on record as being a record.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So you had made a reference to that in your life you had had a number of dogs, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And they were your domesticated, your pets and stuff.
Mhm.
One must wonder, I mean, as a mystic, one must wonder of how the canines showed up in a uniform or an awareness as a dog, which would imply that, it could have been anything, could have been a wolf, could have been, but it came to you in a way that you would trust the process, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
found that pretty fascinated because you have such a trust factor in your life with dogs. And early on in my childhood, dogs were what I trusted. I
Yeah.
didn't trust what anyone else said because
Right.
what they said and what they did were very, very different. And
Yes.
what they did at church and what they said on the way home were
Yeah.
very, very, very different. I'm like, you might look at doing some other kind of hobby because this church thing is not
Yeah.
working for you. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's fascinating how the spirits came to you in a way that you could immediately surrender to.
Yeah. And I was at a point in my life where I had been pleading for answers,
Mm.
pleading for help. I knew I needed healing, and I had tried everything that I could within my power to heal myself. I felt fractured and damaged and incomplete.
Why did
And
you feel that way, Heather? Now tell us a
because
little bit about your
okay, okay.
story.
Well, my
We wanna hear everything.
this, there's a lot about this in my book because that ended up being a surprise part of the book I wasn't expecting either. My childhood, as the guides led me through the writing this book, they revealed a lot more about my childhood than I ever correlated to my present state.
Wow.
I didn't know that even though my father had passed away, I didn't know I still harbored energy with him. I wasn't mad at him. I thought I had forgiven him, but the energy was still within me.
Mm,
So
mhm.
that had to be completely healed. And in order for that to happen, they took me back through many, many, many past lifetimes in order for me to understand this very complex ancestral entanglement that he and I shared.
Wow.
And he was a very sophisticated narcissist and a preacher and a psychologist and, talk about church. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I know and what I wanna highlight for our listeners is we're not on a script.
Yeah.
We're just listening and allowing, and of all the things I would say to you in the first 5 minutes that we've actually met, is I would be extremely condescending about church, and I had no idea your dad was a preacher
Yeah,
or any of that. To me, growing up, church was a very ridiculous, funny kind of thing.
me
It
too.
was it was a place that continued to support abuse and
Yeah.
violence and passive violence and, yeah. So,
And
oh my
and it
gosh, so your
yeah.
dad was a preacher. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes, and he got up on that pulpit, and he was one thing to everybody else, and he was completely different person to me.
Mhm,
That was very traumatic for me, and the only thing that I could embrace that was normal were my dogs in my life. Thank heavens they let me have dogs, and
mm,
so when I was very young, was 12, I think, I began showing dogs in AKC obedience. I had 2 German Shepherds, and that's what I did. I spent as much time away from the house as I could. I spent all my time at the kennel with my instructors, and then I was volunteering, and then I had a job at 13. I just tried to stay out of the
mm.
house. Yeah.
Wow.
I just spent my whole life trying to make sense of it all, trying
Mm,
to understand what happened, why we had the relationship that we did. I knew there was a higher point, there was a bigger point, a bigger picture that I wasn't able to see. And I just tried to understand it. And as a matter of fact, as a physical therapist, I spent 10 years in pediatric practice because I was trying to sort out my childhood.
mm.
I was trying to understand how families normally work, what what a loving family looks like, and kind of just observe how other families cohabitated together and how they felt about each other and demonstrated or expressed feelings for each other because that wasn't even coherent for me. But yeah.
Did you find a couple?
Oh, yes, I found some great
Good.
examples, and then it just made me feel more left out, more like, "Well, why didn't I have that experience?" So then I had to balance those emotions,
Mhm.
woulda, coulda, shoulda, but yeah, all of that was revealed to me during this beautiful healing process that the canine guides helped me with, and now I am so thankful for the experience that I had because it really forced me to push forward quickly. And I am not supposed to be attached to other people so that I can do my work. So it was
Mhm.
very important that I didn't have these family commitments that would hold me back.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's all worked out very beautifully the way it was supposed to be done. And then I also want to mention when I worked with my astrologer, I had always blamed my mother for marrying my father because I thought if she married someone else, maybe it would have been better. But my
You you better stop talking about my mom and dad now. Oh my gosh, it's so wild. It's like, "Oh my
really?
gosh." Yeah, I don't wanna keep saying, "Me too, me too, me
Yeah.
too." But, Oh my gosh, yes, and so many animals that I had when I was a little girl, my father resented that I had them so much, like, he stepped on my cat and squished it to death. He ran over my German Shepherd. I It was just a puppy, and because he was in such a rush, he backed his truck. Just an
Oh,
immense he wasn't a preacher, but he
yeah,
certainly was one way in the public and another way at home, and
yeah.
I agree with one of our people tuning in today. Teresa's saying good vibes. I want to give a shout out to Miracle and Barbara, BB, and any of you if you have any questions. But yeah, it's all about your story, but it is so uncanny the similarities, of life itself. So we have plenty of time to explore this journey. And so, what I'm so curious about is that you were sitting on a recliner with your remote one day and a few months ago, and the roof parted, or what
Oh,
happened? I mean, because you had been through so much
mhm,
and damage and hurt, and it's important to say that and not
yeah,
make light of it. And it does prepare us so we can resonate with other people. There's depth, there's when you present, you have a depth that people that grew up and leave it to Beaver don't
yeah,
have.
right. Yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
so, how coming from a space of who am I? What's it all about? And why is this such a crazy thing? How did you immediately open up when you get a knock on your door or on your consciousness? How did that happen?
That's an incredible story, Temple. It actually happened during COVID lockdown.
Okay.
So, I was out in my yard with my dog, and we discovered a, conjoined squirrel. Do you know what that is?
No, explain.
It's a Siamese twin squirrel.
What?
It was conjoined at the spine, as far as I
Oh
could
my, I've
tell.
never seen that.
It was a baby, it had never left the nest, it looked like it was half grown, and it finally outgrew the nest and fell to the ground. So half of it was dead, and the other half was terrified,
Wow.
and it was blinking at me and breathing really hard as I approached, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it or for it. But I instantly, as soon as I saw it, this energy just washed over me. And I describe in the book, and it's washing over me now. I describe in the book the messages that came through because it took me 2 years to understand what this meant. But yet at the same time, as soon as I saw it, I knew it meant something big was coming.
Mhm.
So, and my energy shifted. And what I ended up doing, I felt this urgency to find out what it meant, to find out what was coming, because it just told me something huge was coming. So I built a team of a shamanic mystic,
Mhm.
clairvoyant shamanic mystic, and an astrologer, and a numerologist, and an um, hypnotherapist. I mean, I had a complete team, and I said, "What's going on? What do I
Mhm.
need to know? What's coming?"
Wow.
And so that kinda let me know something is on its way. So about 6 months later, I was able to start this journey with my mentor, and the first thing he said to me is, "You're supposed to write a book," and that's where it all started.
Well, I'm
So
gonna go back for a minute because I just find this fascinating because when you talk about the conjoined squirrel,
oh, mhm,
half of it was dead, half of
mhm.
it was afraid.
Yeah.
You described you,
Yes, yes, but I
right?
didn't realize that
And
until
and you get that though,
yeah,
don't you? That
yeah,
like that is the beauty of the medicine of, and
yes,
I'm saying this not that you need my coaching, but for people to understand when something like that, or any animal or bird or squirrel or conjoined or whatever comes out of nature at you in this way, it is a message for
yeah,
you to take
absolutely,
and to integrate. And because I totally get that, and I get that for you, of half dead from
yeah,
what's the point in all
yeah,
this? and yet afraid of, is it all gonna wind up being this bad, or will the
Right.
new be better? And but later on, you did make that connection.
Yeah, actually the dead half was my old self that I was shedding off, and
Mhm.
it was weighing heavily on me
Yes.
because the dead part, it actually pulled them both down out of the nest. And then the live part that was
Wow.
terrified was the new version of me that was preparing to come out in the world and was terrified.
Oh, yes.
So, and it was just a beautiful symbolism, and people don't get how real this is. When situations like this happen in your life, they are real, and people, like, I had no ability to ignore what I was seeing because I felt the energy so strongly.
Mhm.
But sometimes people aren't engaged with the energy, so they might not notice it. But anything that, just like you said, anything that happens like that that's unusual, pay attention. It means something
Yes.
specifically for you.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, I another part of this that I love in the paragraph or 2 that the producer sent me is, it's one, and I my intention is for you to totally hear this the way I mean it, because I'm saying it for all the listeners,
Uh-huh.
okay?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't tell you the tens of thousands of people that I know that they want to go to the workshop so they can have a special gift, or they want to go to this program so they learn how to ohm and people transcend. And you're just like, I just want to figure out how to be a human being. And
Yeah.
I just want to figure out how to settle into that, because I'm not even convinced that this is a good ride. And the point in what I'm making is that you weren't really seeking, not consciously. You didn't even know what you were asking for if you had been asking for it. You were just wanting to be open to figure out, why are we even here? And the courage that it took for you to go, now this is different. And
Yeah.
then right, and the courage, because I do think that, and I've done this myself when I first started working with a shamanic teacher. I had wanted this for so long and
Mhm.
gone to all these programs and the prayer circle where people had prayed all over the world, and walked on this journey and went through this desert of understanding. And I think I would look for it so hard that at times I probably pushed it away.
Yeah. Well,
Where
yeah, because we have
so
expectations of what it's supposed to look like.
exactly,
Yeah.
and here you go going, wow. I just applaud you. That's
Aw.
the whole deeper meaning of that is, because you had been known as a seeker on one level, how to
Mhm.
be in your body and physical pain, how to
Mhm.
overcome physical pain in your body, but anyway, I'm just very impressed with you.
Thank
Just
you.
I just think that's absolutely fascinating, because it wasn't like you just saw rainbows,
Mm.
or decided to design T-shirts saying life is all good. I
Right.
mean, you're like talking to a whole other dimension. So you
Yeah.
had the conjoined squirrel. You started getting this out picturing of a message. Did you immediately believe that, wow, this is something? Did you
Oh,
just
yeah.
immediately sit there comfortably and start writing?
Oh, no, I didn't start writing at that point. Because I didn't know yet I was writing a book. It wasn't until
Okay.
it was February 22nd, 2022, I found out I was writing a book.
Wow.
And by October of that year, I had the script to my, publisher. So that's how fast it happened.
Wow.
And of course, I've always had dogs my whole life, and they told me which of my dogs were going in the book and which of my dogs had been working with the core four, which are the first four guides coming through that are in this first book.
Mm.
And the book is filled with examples of how the core four were working through these dogs to help me heal, and I couldn't see it. They were providing experiences for me, making connections for me. Just incredible stuff. Connect the dots,
Mhm.
stuff that we can't see. There's a quote in my book. I'm so thankful that I was courageous enough to look in the rear view mirror and
Mm.
see life with 2020 vision, because some of us don't do that.
Mm-mm.
And I was given this incredible opportunity to understand it. It's almost, they told me literally, my numerologist and my astrologer told me I was going to die and be reborn without ever leaving the planet.
Wow.
And I literally did that. And they told me everything the knowledge I was given was equivalent to what you would receive as you leave the body and you get all these
Mhm.
answers. All of a sudden, I just had all these answers. Everything was cleared up for me. I could see it clearly. And I was elevating my frequency. And when we elevate our frequency, we have access to that information. But we have to heal first. We can't do that if we don't get rid of the junk. So that's
It's
what the
so it's so tender too. I mean, I don't know where your life would be or what we were talking about if it had been birds or cats or
Yeah.
some other, being, sentient being or giraffes. I,
Yeah.
I I don't know, but I you may know I'm an obsessed animal activist, and people will call me and they'll go, "Oh, I got this puppy and it's just too much trouble and I'm not going to keep it." And I go, "You called the wrong person."
Yeah.
Because this animal is destined to bring you medicine
Mhm. Yeah.
and vibrancy of life. And if you allow it, you will get the gifts. And if you deny it, you're going to get the gifts somewhere else. And by the way, it's a good thing that you didn't have natural children, because the first time they threw up on you, you're saying you would have given them away. I mean, come on, it's a
Yeah.
process, but
Yeah.
it's so tender because it is fascinating how we held on to those little dogs in our childhood, right? And it
Mhm.
was the only unconditional love that we were able to receive at the time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But even so, as damaged as I was, I had a hard time receiving that too.
Mhm.
I didn't feel like I deserved it
Mhm.
at all. I didn't understand what that was. I'd never experienced it. So, it was a hard road.
Well,
My dogs went through some hard times with me, and one thing that's really hard for some people to understand is that they know why they're here. They know what they're signing up for. So sometimes they don't have the best experience and they're okay with that. I made some terrible choices, as a
mhm.
child, as a dog owner, and those stories are all in the book. And that was necessary for me to be able to learn and to shift. And those dogs came back to me to finish the lesson.
It's
It wasn't
amazing.
like it was all over at that point.
Mhm.
So they are incredible teachers, and they are here on Earth to help humanity. All animals are, and we don't treat them with the respect that they deserve and the wisdom that they carry.
Well, we're intimidated by them because of false self-esteem. Most
Mhm.
animals are more evolved
Oh,
than
yeah.
any human. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's no doubt about it, and they have so many different layers of consciousness,
Yeah.
so, it's a threat.
Mhm.
Because yeah, it is. It's definitely a different journey. But these animals return to you, these spirit animals, and they started giving you messages of your life and healing, and also for the lives of others.
Yeah, so once I finished I'm never really fully finished, I will say that. But once I finished what I needed to complete in order to write the book, um, they started then showing me that I was meant to work with other people using this energy. And I was flabbergasted because
Hmm.
I spent 30 years in the medical profession. I didn't know anything about energetic medicine.
Yes.
So I had to shift. I had to get my own ego out of the way. I had to learn to be uncomfortable and unsure and just trust and do it. And so I started out with family members and friends, reading them and channeling in the healing frequencies that the guides, they usually work with one of these canine spirit guides depending on what they need. And I would just channel in this frequency of healing for them. And it was incredible how it all transpired and what they could feel and see and how the sessions ended. And then once I got my confidence, I ventured out and started transitioning my practice into the general public. And
Mm.
I'm just in awe every time I work with a client because these canine spirit guides show me something new about how they work, how
Mhm.
what they're capable of. And I just follow. I'm like, "Oh, we're doing this? Okay, let's do this. I want to see how this works," you know? I'm like a kid in a candy store. I
It's
I love
beautiful.
my job.
Yes. Yeah, and the joy that's coming from your heart. I wanna speak to, one of the comments from, um, a woman named Karen. She's saying she relates so much to the story of your past. However, she's been raised that her healing comes from God. I have such hard time grasping and understanding that. Karen, I'll tell you that back early in my career as a teacher and as a spiritual leader, um, I would do a talk or I would share from my heart, and someone would walk up to me and say, "Thank you. You've totally transformed my life today." And I would say, "Don't thank me." I would brush it off.
Yeah,
I'd say,
yeah,
"Oh, don't thank me. Thank the divine.
yeah,
Thank God."
yeah,
And I realized that I didn't need to do that because God is so infinite, right?
yeah.
And so vast. And people want to put this entity, this higher power, in a box,
Mhm.
but it's everywhere present. And so I stopped doing that. And I would say, "You're welcome." And then I would say, "You're welcome. And I'm glad that you are willing to do the work. And I
Yeah.
thank God that you've had this insight." So, whether it's spirit animals or a flower or a tree or a person, this is how God shows up
Yes, it's all the
because
same.
it's all the same. It's however it shows up, and it's whatever way can get through to
Mhm.
other people. Like a lot of people can believe more in the spirit realm than they can believe in a human being
Yeah.
or a teacher. And so I would just invite you, Karen, just to ponder that. I'm not needing to be right or convince you, but God has many names and many ways. And I remember one time I was just really down, and I was like, what is my next? And I remember going, "I just need a sign.
Uh-huh.
I just need a sign. Just give me a sign." So I walk across the street, and I have a picture of this. I walk across the street and to walk on the beach. And as I'm going down the little walkway, across the little boardwalk, there's a man, and he has a big burgundy t shirt on with the name Temple on it, which is my name.
Yeah.
Now, and I know that he was with Temple University, but and I kind of flipped the guy out. I went, I mean, he looked like the real shy type, and I'm like, "Oh, could I take your picture?" And he looked at me like, "Oh my God, okay." I went, "It's hard to understand, but that's my name, and I needed a sign today." And he still looked at me like I was cuckoo. He went, "Well, okay." But the point is, that was a way that God showed up that I could measure it.
Yeah.
I could feel it. I could take a picture of it. And so when we have this identification of God is unseen, it's so important to be able to resonate with ways in which God is seen,
Yeah.
and the way that God would be seen, in my humble opinion, in a greater way for you, or the divine would be in something of your comfort level of
Mhm.
spirit guides of dogs.
Yeah. And
And it's just amazing how that it's no different than an angel interpreting something, or
right.
someone else interpreting the divine. I think it's just beautiful.
Well, and their mission is to reach more people that might not be open to spirituality
Hmm.
any other way. So
Yes.
these are people who would do something for their dog, but they might not do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Or they
Oh,
might
yeah.
believe in it because it's coming through their dog or their dog is helping or assisting, whereas
Hmm.
otherwise they wouldn't believe in it at all. They wouldn't even try it. So,
Well, did any of them have the voice like Kevin Costner?
no.
That movie. Have you watched the movie The Art of Racing in the Rain?
No.
Oh, please watch that movie and have tissue paper and get ready to cry. It's the art of racing in the rain.
Oh, is it a
And
car race?
well, a guy is a car racer. He's a
Oh,
race car driver. Let me get my I'm out there in the spirit
yeah,
dimension
yeah.
right now. I need to get back to, but it's about a race car driver. It's based on a true story that he gets this puppy, and so the dog and things he thinks and feels is narrated by the voice of Kevin Costner. So I
Oh,
was
okay,
just kind of being funny, but
okay.
it's an excellent movie. And that came out, and A Dog's Purpose and A Dog's Life and all that. Which, if you haven't seen any of those and you're listening, watch them, because it's it reminds you of what our beloved Heather is saying today about the energy and how animals are evolved, and how they know there's a purpose for them coming, and what they offer.
Yeah.
And wow, they really had you, right, that you were willing to leave your profession, move across the United States. From where did you move from?
We moved from Indiana to Colorado.
Wow.
So, and it was quick. Everything energetically came together and it was quick. I didn't have to worry about a thing.
Wow. And you
Everything
could
was
just totally trust.
yeah, I just totally trusted it. I
That's a
sat
good.
back and I went, "Wow." I mean, I didn't have to do any work. It was incredible, incredible.
Wow. Wow. That is.
Um, but I do wanna say that one of the guides has, her energy is that of Lady Diana. Very pristine, quiet yet powerful voice.
Wow. And so, did these messages, are they, I'm not wanting to over mentalize it, or put it in a box, but do you constantly get messages? I know for me, and I'll say this, when I'm doing energy work on a person, often it will come to me as a visual of some type of animal or totem. It can be an eagle, an elephant, a hippopotamus, a giraffe, and I'll get this visual, and I visualize running the energy on the essence of that, rather than focusing on the body of the person. And I've seen that that brings great results. And you're saying something different, but yet similar, right? That you're working with someone, and you get these insights and these messages that help you.
Yeah, I channel in the message before I meet with the person. So
Okay.
I sit with their energy and the guides will literally tell me what that person needs to know.
Mm.
So it could be about their life currently, it could be a lot about their childhood, it could be about their future, it could be about a previous life, it could be about an um, intergalactic life. It could be anything, and it's different for each person. And sometimes they'll even get what they're here for, what their mission is. And so once I get that download, I also will be told which canine spirit guide is going to be working with them during that session, because depending on what needs to be shifted within them, because this work is very, very deep. A lot
Mm,
of times, the people who are signing up for an appointment don't even know what they need. They might
yeah.
say that there's a certain focus they have, but they don't truly understand what work needs to be done. And so the guides will share that with me, and then when I meet with the client virtually, I share what I've downloaded, and they always go, "Wow, that totally makes sense."
Mhm.
And then we go right in to a healing session where then I channel in the energy of that canine guide right then and there. And it's not always a physical thing. It's rarely a physical thing that we're working on. We're going much deeper into the spiritual body, into all of this. Sometimes it's DNA, sometimes it's past life. Whatever needs to be shifted and dug out. I mean, these guides bring out all the technology. Sometimes they work
Mhm.
with crystals, sometimes they do all kinds of stuff. Every time is different, and they literally get into that energy that needs to be just exploded and released. And then once that's cleared, then they'll assist that person in embodying more of their own soul. So
Right.
it's an incredibly cleansing process, and a lot of people are really tired afterwards. It's a lot of work.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Well, that level of deep discovery, and, it's like, s in my life of learning to sit in the shadow and, coming from alcoholism and those kind of things, and realizing it's important to walk through, um, the hurt and the pain or the grief or, whatever it is. My point is, as a healer, it's easy. I tend to attract people that are willing to do the serious work
Yeah,
because I have been in it and sat with it. A lot of therapists and a lot of specialists that you go to in your life because they're uncomfortable with pain, they'll give you a Kleenex and they'll tell you it's okay, and and they'll ask questions or they'll help you digress from sitting there where I can just
yeah,
sit there as long as you want to because I know that that depth is where you need to go. My
yeah,
point is it's beautiful in your life design because keep in mind we're talking about the show On Fire for Life, and we're
yeah,
talking about who you were and where you came from and how you were so prepped to do the work that you do
yeah,
now and be on fire about it
yeah,
because you lived so many years of I don't know what this is about. I have no idea. I don't even know what I'm asking for. You're perfect for the clients that you're working with now,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
right?
because I've been there with them.
Mhm. Yeah. It's just really it's just I've really enjoyed our time today, and, it's just really fascinating, actually. Yeah.
I would like to mention I do have a group workshop coming up at the end of the month. If anybody wants to experience the healing of the canine spirit guides. Uh,
Yes, do you do it in person or online or
it's all virtual. Everything I do is virtual, whether it's a one-on-one session or a group session. It's all virtual, so anybody can attend, and you just have to have computer and internet.
okay.
And the frequency is freely flowing. Everybody feels it no matter where they're at. But this workshop's going to be with Anthea and Oscar, and they both represent the divine union. So Anthea is divine feminine, and Oscar is divine masculine.
Mhm.
So we need a lot of blending and healing with those two frequencies here on the planet. So this is going to be a really incredible workshop. It's a half-day workshop.
That's really powerful. And you can go to heatherleigstrom.com and we have that in the comments. And I want to make another statement. Um, we go to fantasy movies by Disney.
Hmm.
Um, we read Harry Potter books that's all made up. And we get real taken with the character. And there's some of you out there that probably go, "Oh, this is way out of my comfort level," or "Wow, this is really out there," or this person's really starting to talk about some weird kind of stuff. How do we identify with that? That's my question because however it shows up, because like I said, all the characters of Harry Potter, a lot of people grew into that. A lot of children made new decisions about their lives because of Harry Potter and or other things that we watch or think about the Jetsons.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but it was far out there when I
Yeah.
was growing up as a kid. The Jetsons, and now everything they had, we have. So
Yeah.
things might feel for those of you that are tuning in going, spirits or canines, I don't know. Remember that evolution always requires us to stretch.
Oh, yeah.
And if the ordinary worked and traditional ways of thinking were the answers, um, I encourage you to think about where we are as a culture right now, and it's time that we have some unique and mystical kind of things happening to get
Yeah.
through to people because traditional, if religiosity was the only answer, and I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing it's because we don't have enough people into it. We have a whole lot of people that have been into it that have left it because it teaches people to be a born sinner and never amounting to anything. And that to me cannot be the divine intention. So I
No.
just encourage you to open up your heart and realize that in your lifetime, a lot of things have been really weird, but yet then they become the new norm. And I applaud the courage. I mean, to me, Heather, I sit with everything you're saying. And I know that tens of thousands of people do, but I just applaud you and I
Thank
thank
you.
you for bringing this work in the world. And
Thank
I'd love to have you on the show a few months from now and have more stories of people you've worked with and insights they've had. And
Oh, yeah.
I just thank you so much for your
Oh,
for your
thank
wisdom.
you. Thank you so much for all the work you're already doing. You're way ahead of
Mm.
me.
We, we're not measuring it like
No,
that now.
no. I feel like I'm late to the show, I'm like, I wanted to be here for so long, and I finally
Mm-mm.
got here, but it's all in divine time, and I'm so thankful to be here today. Thank you for allowing me to share today with you and your
Well,
audience.
but yet, it's there's no way to compare anything. It's all relevant. I
Yeah.
mean, there are people that have been doing things 30 and 40 years, and they may just be like real complacent right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they need your spark. So
Yeah.
it only matters, I think, like you said, that Eckhart Tolle says, we're doing what we do in the now. And I'm just really proud of the work that you're doing, and
Thank you.
my hat goes off to you
Thank you. Thank you very
for
much.
sure, for sure. Well, stay in touch, and everybody, please tune in to heatherleigstrom.com. You can find out about the event she's going to do and the workshop this month and other things, and you can stay caught up with her. And is there anything else you would like to say, Heather, before we?
Well, the canine guides always want me to share that healing is not meant to be hard and it's not meant to be a process. It's
Right.
meant to be instant.
Yep.
And we've just been programmed to think that it's a hard journey.
Yeah.
And it's not. They proved through my story that it can be instant if
Mhm.
you allow it and welcome it and you don't resist it.
And I think you made a clear statement. I find this in shamanic work too, with ancient techniques. It's like it's so simple that people doubt it
Yeah.
because they believe it has to be hard,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it
There's a
doesn't.
hold on. Yeah.
It doesn't. You can have
Yeah.
an instantaneous healing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you.
So grateful, and let us know how you're doing.
Okay,
and
will
uh,
do.
and how your book is doing as well. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Love having you participate. We want to thank globalpeaceworkers.org as well as ILLI, the Institute for Leadership and Lifelong Learning International, for being our sponsors today. Thank you so much for being with us. and bless you on this amazing journey we call life. Thank you
Bye.
for being here.